Hey everybody, it's Ed. Welcome back to the channel. This is a very quick intro. A few weeks ago, I recorded something really cool with my friend Roderick over at Rants About Tech and Aaron from 2530 Media, and just wanted to share some of the outtakes with that. It was all about the top 5 things about the Supernote that I think really rock. So buckle up and here we go. I'll see you here in a few minutes. And I went with design. And the reason I went with design and why I think it's so important is first and foremost the modularity. I think the fact that this thing has components that are replaceable is hands down unique in the entire industry. Nobody else is doing that. I didn't do it from an aesthetic standpoint, although I think it's a beautiful device. I think maybe the Go 10.3 might win the aesthetic piece. But as far as design in the way you use it, and you use every part of the device. What I mean by that is this new beta, and that's what made me think about and go with design. The Wacom layer now becomes a Wacom tablet. So now you can use this device for 2 different purposes. So you can use it as a standalone device, or you can connect it and be able to use that with your PC, with any drawing app, any engineering type app, anything that supports pen input. All of that works pretty good. When I got home, that latency that we were talking about yesterday, gone. Last night, it was super accurate, and it was really good. And finally, because I want to make sure I'm watching your timer there, and I'm not sure that you started it on time. The last component, which I think sets it apart, and I don't think the Go 10.3 has this, is the Mobius screen. I think it's the Viwoods that has the Mobius. But the Mobius plastic screen and plastic construction of this device makes it super durable. So to me, from a design perspective, to be able to do all of those things and still have this do what it does is pretty good. Again, on this one, I actually picked the design of the UI itself. So I went with design again, and I think that's really where the Manta or the Supernote in general shines. It was a little bit more of a difficult choice for me because if you would have gone the other way, I could have talked about quick access more generally in navigation. But the design of the UI and the fact that it's contextual, the fact if you're in a PDF, you have a certain set of tools, which is still almost universal. There's a couple of differences, and Rod, you've mentioned a lot of times the lack of a highlighter in the Notes app, and there's a lack of a highlighter in the EPUB as well, but there's a highlighter option in the PDF. And it's not that there's a lack of a highlighter in EPUB, but there's no highlighter tool. So there's not a tool that you can easily do that. You have to mark it differently. But those contextual menus, no matter where you're at, if you circle something, you have all your options. They pop up in a little window. So you can create a link, you can create a heading, you can create all of these things right there. And we'll talk more about that in another section. And then you add to that the quick access piece, and you add to that the gestures, which I know, Rod, you are not a fan of the gestures.
Oh, man.
But I'm telling you, double tap quick to hide the toolbar on the left, double tap to hide the page count on the bottom, the 2-finger swipe, all of that stuff is really important for once you're used to the device. Again, to Aaron's point, it's second nature, and it works for me because I have very little false positive when it comes to trying to make those gestures work. They just work because I've used them so much. But to me, that's kind of the UI design. It's not overcomplicated. It's straightforward. It's right there for you, and it's really designed to do what you wanted to do when you need to do it. Well, I went with organization. I mean, heck, it's the name of my channel. So it's kind of the thing I do. And what's funny is when I watch Aaron's videos, he and I do a lot of the same things, just on a different device and the way we structure our workflows, I think. But the thing on the Supernote platform for organization is the fact that it's completely customized. That's the thing that drives it probably further than anything else. If you look at Jeff Moss, he uses the star marking system as his to-do list, whereas there is a built-in to-do list. If you look at the way some people use keywords versus headings, there are multiple ways to use all of those functions to be able to organize and find and use your notes in a very clear and straightforward manner. And it fits you. And I think that's what's cool about it. And then if you add in things like linking, so this idea of being able to link all of your notes together, being able to link to PDFs within notes, to web pages, it doesn't have the viewability, I guess I would call it, the way that Boox does with being full open Android, but you still have a built-in browser and you can still do that and go to those external sources. But then there's also the real-time recognition notes, which is a big feature because that becomes globally searchable. So from an organizational standpoint, I don't have to remember to make a keyword. I don't have to remember to make a heading. I don't have to remember to do a star mark. If I'm using those real-time recognized notes, I can go to the global search and I can find it. And that's kind of a behind-the-scenes piece that's really important to me as far as staying organized, because then I can add in those connections later if I forgot to do them in the moment. So just a pretty fun piece of it. You can't talk about the Supernote without talking about the Notes app. I mean, for me, that was the absolute go-to because it's so well developed and it's so well curated. And this is what I'm going to say about it from the outset. It's complete integration with the pre-installed apps. That's why it's so important, because the Notes app works with your calendar, it works with your to-do, it works with your EPUBs through linking and everything else. So the idea is that Notes app is so well developed, and then you add in these new stickers that it has. Now, I'm not talking about Atelier and I'm not talking about the new InkFlow app. Those aren't native. You have to download those. But anything from the calendar up that is integrated with the system as it comes out of the box, out of the gate, it runs into the Notes app. That's extremely powerful because you can do anything from there. This idea of app awareness, if you're in the notes, it knows you're there, it lets you go out, and then it pulls you back. And so no matter what other app you engage with, you can come back to the note you're in without having to swipe anywhere else. You just hit the X or you hit the little back button from the browser, whatever it is, pulls you back into that. The choice of having a traditional or a standard note with all of the fine eraser tools and the templates and all of the other things, and having the text recognition note that is much more exportable and easier to work with in other programs, including Obsidian, which I'm a heavy user of, and the easy template integration with PDF. They were the first to do that really well. I know Boox does it, and Boox does it, I think, as well now, but they didn't to begin with. And then connections viewable across the desktop and mobile. That's a big component of how you organize, and the fact it stores those locally as well is a big deal in those apps. I'm going with backup because of the fact that their cloud app, while not as robust as Boox, really does work well. It allows for you to, once you back up to their cloud service, all of the links are active. So anything you've linked to within your notebooks, you just click and you can go within the app to those files. That's a really cool part of their service. Now, it's not robust in the sense that you sometimes get conflict files and some other things, but you can see it on your phone, you can add from your phone, you can see it from the web, add from the web, a lot of different things you can do. But the reason backup is on there is all of those files, at least in the Supernote cloud versions, are saved locally. You get then local access and a local backup copy on your device, which is a nice to have. But they also have the other backup option. So if you're in OneDrive, you can back everything up and sync it to OneDrive. Now the auto sync's only available on the Supernote cloud, but Google Drive, Dropbox, and OneDrive, you can save all of those notes over to whatever platform you choose. So again, it's kind of that choose your own adventure thing with Supernote that I like so much. That however you work, it meets you there. And what's really interesting is you don't have to log into the Supernote app to be able to use it as a viewer. You can use OneDrive, Google Drive, or Dropbox as long as you open it on a PC or a Mac that has the Supernote app installed. It works like Word. It opens that file so that you can view it. Now, the linking goes away at that point because you're not signed in, but you can still view all of the notes natively and export them. So it's a really cool functionality. They kind of allow you to do it however you want to be able to make that work. And I think that's something that gets undersold a lot with the Supernote. They don't talk about it as much because of some of the issues with their native app. I think they just don't really push those other services as much.
Everybody, thanks for hanging in there. Please go check out the full video. The live stream was a lot of fun with Rod and Aaron and the whole gang. Check that out. It's down in the description below. I had a lot of fun doing it. If you really want to learn about e-ink tablets generally, especially two of the top devices devices from Boox and Supernote, this is your way to hear that information. It's a real good conversation about how you would use these devices. But as always, thank you all so much. Thank you for supporting me on Patreon, on YouTube, reading my blogs, clicking my affiliate links when I have them. You'll see a special thank you to my Patreon and YouTube members. Thank you all so much. Until next time, keep moving forward.